Hello everyone. Now I'm going to show you how to do a labeling work. So first off, I'm going to show you how to log in on the Ginger application or software. So you have your account number here and your password. So for example, we're going to use this account number. So just copy and paste here on the username and then the password. And then you can save your ID and password so that the next time you're going to log in, you don't need to type it in again. Okay, so just click OK. So this is our platform. This is our Ginger software platform. So as you can see here, there is a down arrow. This is the button that you're going to click if you want to download a task. So right next to it is an up arrow. This up arrow is a submit button task. So after you've done editing the map, you need to click this one to pass or to submit your task. There is also a shortcut for this one. It's Control A. So shortcut is Control A. Alright, for submit. By the way, for download, it's Control D. So that's download a task. Alright, so the next button is letter M. This stands for manual. So manual download. If you are very good enough, you can change this to letter A. So that means it's an automatic download. So after you have submitted your task, you don't need to click this download task anymore because the task will automatically be downloaded after you have submitted your previous task. All right, so M for manual download, A for automatic download. All right, so let's click Control D or down arrow to acquire or download the task. Okay, so 32 tasks remaining out of 36 tasks. Alright, so this is a multi-layer building. Before I show you how to label this one, I will discuss these tools above. Alright, so this button is a save button. So actually you don't have to manually save your task because the software is programmed to automatically to ask you to save your task or your work every 50th editions. Alright, so you just need to click yes once the system prompted you to save your task. We are saving our task just in case the software crashed. So the additions or the labels that you've created on that particular task will be saved. So you won't start it in the beginning again. Alright, so next is this hand tool. If you have activated this tool just click and drag inside your task so that it will move where anywhere on the map. Okay, so this one is a zoom in tool, and the next one is zoom out tool. So you know that zoom in, zoom out. Okay, it's better if you have your mouse this wheel like on in between your left and right click, so it is much easier to zoom in and zoom out your map. Okay, so this red one, we don't normally use this, so let's move on to this next tool. An arrow like tool, it's select. So select. So if you have a label here, right, and if you activate this tool, then click inside the label, you will see the dots in every corner. So it means that label is selected. Alright, so select, click inside the label. When you see the dots on the corners, that means the label is selected. Alright, so next, draw line. So if you use this draw tool, it will allow you to freely draw the line in any direction you want. Alright, again, so any direction. And this is not really advisable to use unless the shape of the building is irregular or not parallel, because we always require to use this right angle tool. Alright, so right angle tool to make sure that your label is always on a 45 degrees angle. Alright, there. So always use the right angle tool whenever you are labeling. Okay, the next tool is arc. Alright, so there are houses that have this arc like this, or if you need to draw a silo or a round shape label, so we are going to use this arc tool. Alright, so just click, and then how big, just drag your mouse on how big the label should be, then click and then close space bar. Alright, so whenever you're closing the label, you just need to press your space bar on the keyboard or enter key. Okay, so this one, we don't really use this. The next tool is to split or cut. So if in case you encounter a townhouse building and you need to cut those on the property boundary, so we are going to use this cut tool. However, if you only use this one, again, the possibility is you're not going to create a right angle label. Alright, so I suggest before using this cut tool, use the right angle tool first. So press on your keyboard the letter F for right angle, and then click on the line. You see that yellow, broken yellow lines, so that's your guide. You can actually go beyond the line until here. All right, so just click on that. And for example, here, there, okay. So let's assume that these are the property boundaries that we need to cut the label. All right, so before we close our label, we need to shift on the split tool, but don't click using your mouse because it won't work. So again, we will need to use our keyboard. So the shortcut key for split tool is letter T. So let's press letter T on the keyboard. See that? It changes to that tool. And then press space bar. Alright, now you have your townhouses cut. Alright, so again, use the right angle tool when cutting to make sure that you have the right angle labels, a perfectly right angle label. Alright, and then click, click, click whenever you need to, and then shift to cut tool, letter T, and then a space bar. Alright, so that's how we use the cut tool. Alright, next is the erase tool. Alright, so we are using this um, to make a hole on the label. So in this particular building, as you can see here, there's a hole in the middle of this building. See those three cars? Alright, and then another car, another car. So that means it is a ground. So we need to use this tool to create a cavity. Alright, so let's use this example first before going to the real building, just to show you how to use this tool. Alright, so let's press the wave button. Alright, so this is a wave button. Alright, okay, so wave button to show the mask. Okay, so press the wave button to show the mask. Alright, so if you can see this label, it's a solid, there's a solid mask. So once we use this erase tool, then you will notice the difference. Okay, so let's use this one. Activate the erase tool and then click, 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 then space bar to close, and then I'll press the wave button again. You see that? You see the hole in the middle. So that's the use of this tool. Okay, press the wave button to see the mask. Okay, so we need to make a cavity here. Alright, so cavity. Okay, see that? Again, I will press the wave button. Okay, so it is now a big hole in the middle of this building. Next one, delete tool. You need to select first, right? Select and then click inside the label. Once you see the dots, that's the only time that you can tell that the label is already been selected. And then click this recycle bin button or the delete button. You can also use the shortcut key letter B. So If you hover your mouse on each tool, you will see the shortcut key. So you will eventually memorize those keys. Okay, so for now, let's click this tool, delete. You see, it's now gone. So the label is already been deleted. Alright, so now the next tool is undo. So as you know, undo is to go back to your previous state. I mean, yeah. So click this undo. See that the label that we deleted earlier came back. Alright, so the next one is redo. So same thing, to go back to the previous state of your task, on your task rather. So this tool, you don't need to click anything on this one, so skip that. The next tool is a parallel. See, parallel tool. So if you're going to draw a square or rectangle, this is the much easier tool to use. So click, click, and click, click, click. Alright, so that's how easy to draw a square and rectangle tool. I mean rectangle labels. Alright, so next is group. Okay, so we normally use a group tool for multi-layer buildings. For example, this one. Alright, let's do this. So for example, this is a multi-layer building. Alright, so we need to select both labels because we have here two labels, 1, 2. So we need to select these two labels and then group. So that's how, that is the purpose of grouping. So that your label won't get an error, a topology error of post-shift overlap. Alright, so next, the group. Alright, so we have already grouped this label. So just click this one and then the group. Alright, so they are now again two separate labels. Okay, so that's the use of group and the group tools. Next is building vector. Okay, so if you're going to create a multi-layer building, you need to set a vector. Alright, so if you set the vector, you will lock the direction of the 3D that you are making. So for example, this particular building, let's see, let me label this first just to show you. Alright, so I haven't set the vector yet. I'll show you how it works. See, I can move the 3D. You see that imaginary line or broken yellow lines. I can go to any direction I want. Alright, however, if I set the vector in this particular direction of this building, of this wall rather, I will click this vector tool and then click whenever your dot is color green. Alright, go down. Right, and whenever you see your dot change to color green, That's the time you can click your mouse. All right, and then press space bar on your keyboard. All right, so the system pops up a message. It says here building vector is setted. All right, so let's click yes. Okay, so you'll notice that the underline tool here earlier becomes a big letter L. This means that you have already setted your vector. Now it is locked on this particular direction, so I cannot pull this to any direction anymore. So it's locked on this direction that I set earlier. Okay, so see how it works. All right, next, union tool. So for example, I have here a label. All right, so I have here a label, and I have an arc here. All right, so I have here two labels, two separate labels, but I need to make this label as one. So I need to combine these two labels. So I need to select the two labels like this, right? Again, select, right? So once you have selected that, just click on the union tool. All right, see? Now it is only one whole label. All right, so that's what this tool is about. Okay, so that's the use of the union tool. All right, so if you want to combine two labels, just use this tool. Okay, so you can also use like this, and then select, and then union tool. See that? Okay, next, well, we don't actually use this tool, so let's move on. Filling union. Also, we are not using these tools. So here, trace tool. So we normally use this for 3D and again for multi-layer buildings. This is how I use the trace tool. All right, so activate or click the tool, and then again here click if the dot turns to green, and then click on the next corner. All right, and then go back to the first dot that you have created, and then click, and then space bar. All right, you see that we have traced the broken yellow lines here. Okay, so that's the use of trace tool. Well, you can actually use a manual tracing like this, but I find it more difficult. Alright, so you can also do this one. Alright, so it is the same thing as what I did earlier. Alright, see? So that's how we manually trace the broken lines of your 3D. But this is the technique that is much easier for me. Alright, so again, trace tool, click, and go back to your first dot. Alright, and then space bar. Alright, so same thing. It is now the broken yellow lines is now traced. Alright, so let's press the wave button to check. Alright, so this one in the middle should have a cavity or a hole because this is actually ground. So again, to create a cavity, we need to use the erase tool. Alright, so just click on the corners, click, click, okay, there, and then hover technique, close. Alright, so let's press the wave button. Now you see the difference now? There is a big hole in the middle. Alright, so let's now draw the 3D. Alright, so in drawing the 3D, you need to select the label that you want to create, to drag the wall or create a 3D. So click on the select tool and then click inside the label. So once you see those dots on the corners, it means your label has been selected. Now press and hold Control key on the keyboard. Right? Press and hold. Do not release. Okay? And then click your mouse inside the label and then drag. Drag on the direction of the wall. And then release the mouse. And then last, release the control key. Alright, so that way you will create a 3D on your label. You see those broken yellow lines? That's your 3D. Now, we need to set the vector. Okay? So click or activate your vector tool and then click on the corner of your wall. When you see your dot turns to green, then click and then drag down your mouse, and when you see your dot turns to green, then click and then spacebar. Alright, so the system or the computer prompt you a message that building vector is setted. So just click yes. Alright, you'll notice the underline letter here earlier, the underline tool earlier becomes a big letter L now. So that means your building vector has been setted. Okay, so now, right, you see that? We need to trace the bottom layer, the bottom part of your 3D. So this is your wall, this is your wall, and we need to trace the yellow broken lines. Well, actually, there are two ways in tracing the the 3D or the yellow broken lines. So that's one thing, the manual tracing. We can also do this technique. So just zoom it in, right? Activate the trace tool and then point your mouse on the bottom of your 3D in the corner. Once it turned green, just click on it and then go to the next corner. Once the dot turns to green, click on it and then go back to your first dot and then click. Alright, so you see the line is still following you. Just close your label, space bar. Okay, you see that? So that's, for me, that's the easiest way to trace your 3D. Now let's check. Press the wave button. Alright, if you will notice this, the middle part here, it's again closed. So we need to draw another layer of cavity later on. But for now, let us add or repair this part of the building. because this is the roof of your first layer. So we can use the repair rectangle tool, all right, and then click here, all right, click. Okay, so repair, remove the unwanted dots here, corner. Okay, all right, so can also add here. By the way, guys, you can add and delete dots. Number one, I mean, select the label that you want to add or remove dots. So if you want to add that dots, um, hover your mouse on the line or the part where you want to add the dots, then press number one. All right, you see that? One, one. So if you want to remove the dots, hover your mouse on the dot, and when it turns green, just press number two on the keyboard. Right, two, two. See that? So that's how we add and remove dots. Okay, so now let's create the second layer cavity. So erase tool, okay, so we now created the second layer cavity, then drag the first layer of your building. Okay, so see that? Now select the label of the entire building, and then group. Okay, so now we can submit this task. So Control A. Alright, so this is the next task that we have. Again, we always need to use a right angle tool. Alright, so right angle tool. So we will always based on the shadow if there is a shadow. Alright, so click on the corner. Alright, so always start on the longest line. Alright, so here you see the shadow here. So that's the edge of the roof, and then click on the corners. Alright, see that? Okay. Alright, so hover technique again. Don't click yet. Point your mouse pointer on the first dot that you have created to make sure that you will get a right angle right angle label here. Okay, so once the dot turns to green, then click. Right, see that you have that last point here, and then just click on space bar. Alright, so that's how easy. Okay, so next, by the way, this is a car, so we are not going to label cars. So we only label those permanent structures with roofs. Alright, so again, start on the longest line. Okay, click on the corners. Click. Again, I am using the right angle tool. Okay. Again, hover technique. Okay, don't click yet, because if I click on this one, well, we're not going to get the right angle label. So by the way, To remove or to delete a previous dot, just press backspace on your keyboard. See that? Backspace, backspace. Okay, so if in case you got you mistakenly click in a certain corner, you can still go back. Don't delete the whole label that you've created because you will be wasting too much time. All right, so just press backspace key on your keyboard. All right, so again, let's draw. Okay, there, then hover technique, click spacebar. All right, so this is good to go. I will submit the task, Control A. So now downloading the next task. Okay, so this red labels is the label of the AI. So this one is correct. Alright, by the way, to check if the label is correct on the edge of the building, you can press letter R on your keyboard. So just press letter R again. Okay, see that? Here's the label and here are the tools. Alright, so just press letter R to check if the label is correct on the edge of the roof. Alright, so this one is wrong. So let's delete the label of the AI because this is actually the roof and this is the wall. See that? And again, that black one is the shadow. So let's use parallel tool. Alright, because this is just a simple rectangular shape building. And then select, right? Select and then press and hold Control key and then click and drag your mouse to the direction of the wall. There. You can actually adjust a little bit if your label is not really sent on this. Oh, okay, so we can rotate a little bit. So to rotate the label, just press F1 to rotate to the left. Alright, F2 to rotate to the right. F1, F2, F1. Alright, so there. Okay, this is the base of the building. Alright, so when you edit your label, avoid clicking or moving the label on the dot, because if you do that, you will create a label that is not really on a right angle. Okay, so you can select the label, then click and drag on the line, not on the dot. Okay, so again, click. I'm using parallel tool. Alright, so there, select Control key, click and drag there. So exact label the wall and the roof. And I think this is a roof access, so we also need to draw this one. Alright, so and since we have created two labels in one building, again we need to select them and then group. Alright, by the way guys, I'm gonna show you the topology errors that we are we're gonna encounter on the tasks that we are working on. So, all right, so let's tackle first invalid geometry. So you see this label, okay, invalid geometry. So if you see a crease, two lines of a single label that crossed, so that's the time that you will receive a invalid geometry error. Okay, so to fix that, you can actually move this up until here, right there. So let's check. Control T. So topology error checking, you need to press Control T on your keyboard. So now we have here the kickback topology error. So kickback if you have a protruding dot on the label. So when I click the kickback topology error, the system brings me in this part. So to fix the kickback error, just remove this additional dot on your label. Alright, so removed. Press number 2. There. So let's check again. Let's see what's the next error that we're going to get. So, alright, so area too small. This is not. Alright, so if you encounter a topology errors that says area too small, then you need to delete that. Okay, so this is actually the error. Alright, so again, kickback if you have a protruding dot on your label. Okay, so you see that, just remove that one. Okay, so Control T to check. There, so you already fixed the kickback error. Alright, next is alright, again I'll show you invalid geometry. Okay, a label and the line crisscross on each other. Alright, so this is invalid geometry. So very simple. So you can actually repair this one or fix this one. So you need to delete the whole label. Alright, check Control T. It's now gone. Okay, next is post shift overlap when two labels overlap each other. So very simple. Self-explanatory error. Okay, you see this part. So this is a post shift overlap. Alright, because two labels overlap each other. Alright, so let's check Control T. You see that? So when you click this one, the system will bring you to this part. So the system actually bringing you to the error of the particular label. Okay, so to fix the topology error post shift overlap, okay, again. Okay, so just move your other label a little bit so that their lines will not overlap each other. So that's how we fix post shift overlap. Okay, so next is boundary overlap. Well, in training actually we are not getting this error, a boundary overlap. You will only encounter that on the live map on production if in case your neighbor's label is already been approved. You will know that because the label is a dark green already. And if your label touches or inside that approved label of your neighbor, then that's the time you will get a boundary overlap um, error. Okay, so I cannot show that error to you guys, but yeah, you will only encounter this if in case your neighbor is already been approved and your label touches on that label. Okay, Control T. You will encounter post shift overlap. Okay, a group. Control T. It's gone. All right. Um, let's see. Anyway, the snap failure error can be sent on the second time of submission. So no need to fix. Oh, I'm sorry. No need to fix the snap failure error because the computer will still allow you to submit your task even if you encounter that error, right? So this is very easy. So guys, I hope you understand very well on how to do the labeling, how to fix the topology errors. All right, and okay, so I'm going to submit this task now. By the way, to hide or unhide your 3D, just press Q. Alright, letter Q. Letter Q. There. So to hide and unhide the 3D. Control Q. Oh, sorry. Control Q to delete the 3D. Alright, so select the label first and then Control Q. You see, I removed the 3D. Alright, but if you just want to hide the 3D, just press Q. Alright, so this is all good, and I'm going to submit this now. I hope you learned a lot on this training video.